Hey everyone, my name is Gonzales and this is my Journal 6. So growing up, the play I remember most was very physical. At recess, I was always on the turf playing freeze tag, sharks and minnows, cops and robbers, pretty much anything that involved running around and competing with other kids. That was just how I used to play. It was never really connected to anything academic in my head, it was just fun. But after going through this week's readings, I started to see it differently. Hamilton's podcast related to this the most. The researcher Sergio Pellis talks about how play changes the connections of neurons in the prefrontal cortex. And one of the things that stuck with me was the study about the predictor of academic performance in 8th grade being a child's social skills in 3rd grade. So all that running around and negotiating rules and figuring out how to play fair with other kids was actually doing something for our brains, even if we didn't know it at the time. Gopnik's reading added to that as well. She talks about how pretend play is connected to counterfactual thinking, basically the ability to imagine how things could work differently. And she found that kids who were better at pretending were also better at reasoning through problems. It made me think about how even unstructured play is still building cognitive skills that we don't always give kids credit for. Barriga's article made me think about how often we separate learning from play like they're opposites, but she pushes back on that. And I think I've seen the opposite at my site. The kids who check out the most are usually the ones who are just sitting and filling in blanks with no real reason to be engaged. So Barriga might argue that's exactly what happens when you take play out of learning. Parker's article was the most research heavy, but the idea that stuck with me was what they call guided play, which is like the middle ground between unguided play and direct instructions. For example, where a teacher has a learning goal in mind but lets the student lead the experience towards it. That actually gave me an idea of how to incorporate play with my mentee Dieguito. My idea is to add 6 columns of vocab words on a sheet, each column corresponding to a different number, 1 through 6, and I'll have Dieguito roll a dice, and whatever number it lands on, he can read the word and cross it off of the column, and maybe after he finishes a column, he can get a sticker. It basically keeps learning the goal, but it makes it feel like something like a game rather than a worksheet. So that's basically what guided play looks like, and I think for a kid, having that element of chance and reward makes a difference when it comes to learning. And that's all I got. Thank you.